We're here.
We did it.
We did it. It's the summer reading program, episode 1. We're talking about X-Men Evolution. We
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 are.
watched the pilot episode. We read the whole comic series.
The entire omnibus. All
That's right.
9 issues, baby.
The whole thing. And as you can see, this episode is not sponsored by Razor Scooters and Floor Scooters.
Dangerous, living on the edge.
So, this whole series is about nostalgia, really. Oh, we both have X-Men shirts on, by the
We
way,
did, yeah.
representing. As a kid, I never like if I did the floor scooters, I don't remember them. But
We're
I
gonna talk
loved
about it.
my
I have the
razor.
scars.
Yeah, well, it sounds like they were dangerous.
Well, didn't you share, where you grew up, they were giving you dangerous predatory scoliosis tests in gym,
That's
and
right.
I was, like, judging you, but
Right.
my gym class put me on a death trap, so
Well, then
you
that's
win
something,
some, you
isn't it?
lose some.
That's how it goes, right?
That's how it goes.
It's totally how it goes. All right. I lost my image folder.
Well, we'll just take time to
Yeah.
say, the flow of the show that we'll do going
Yeah.
forward. So, we have a not sponsorship for each week. Hopefully, able to share some of our best memories and maybe most traumatic ones, given some of these items, and even just making the list. I'll say, Kristen, was a blast. I was like,
Oh, so
things from
fun.
the 90s, and then
Yeah.
I was like, we have so many that I just don't know how we're gonna get to them all. Maybe some will be left over for the pizza party. Um, After that, we will do our gold star segment. So Kristen mentioned that folks who maybe wanted to read some of the things on the list but didn't have time to, etc., we'll get a chance to have our non-spoilery thoughts. And we have both prepared, and I think Kristen's going to put me to shame the way she was talking the other day. We have both prepared some summer reading charts to keep track of our reads and how many gold stars, or in Kristen the overachievers case,
Shiny stars.
rainbow stars. Anyway, so we'll do that, and then we'll go into the book report, which will be a more spoiler-filled discussion. Although I will say for this read, I don't really know if spoilers are that big of a deal. So
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like this definitely we don't even need a warning because there's nothing we can really spoil here, I feel like.
content warning for nostalgia.
Yeah.
And then we'll end in beach reads, which is just to chat briefly about what we're currently reading and what we will be reading for the next show. So that's our flow. And we'll start with death traps of the 90s and 2000s.
As we do. All right. I told Jessica beforehand, so I'm gonna tell you guys that this is gonna be much smoother next time. Don't worry about it. Because now I got to figure out how to do it again. Who am I,
Well,
Jess?
these death
Not you.
traps were having us live on the edge, and your screen sharing is about to have you living on the edge.
Can you see it didn't work?
We can
All right.
see this
Let's take
kid
that
living
down.
his best life.
All right. Let's put this up. Nope. Okay. Let's stop this entirely. Here we go. Here we go. I got it. Don't worry about it.
I was never worried. In your safe hands?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So
Mm,
here of course, this is actually the model of
mm.
Razor scooter you had.
It's so true. Well, we both picked scooters, we should say. You picked the cool kid scooter, Razor scooters.
Mhm.
And you had one as well.
Yes, I did. Mine was blue.
Mm.
And I didn't have a kickstand, but I did have the like ollie bar at the end.
Whoa,
You could like
yes.
push down and yeah, I did
Like,
have
in
that.
theory, you could do tricks, but mostly you were getting scrapes.
Exactly. Mostly it hurt my ankles. That's right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I totally remember that. So much skinning of the ankles, which as an adult never happens.
Yeah.
I feel like it happened all the time as a kid, though.
All the time. And now when I run into like a table or something, I'm just like, this is the worst.
Oh,
I
yeah,
used
I'm
to do this
bruised
all
for,
the
like, a
time.
week.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, this is the model that I had, and actually in doing a little bit of research to try to find it, I learned I probably knew this as a kid, but I didn't remember. Mine was a limited edition because most of them, the spongy, weird handlebars of a Razor scooter, which were very big, were black, regardless of the color for most.
Mm.
But for each color, they had like a limited time where the handle squishy bars were the color of the scooter. And I was like apparently really into orange. And I remember going into KB Toys and they had it because
Shout out.
these babies were locked up. Razor scooters were expensive. They were in like they had to go get the key. You remember
Mhm.
to let you
Oh,
have it?
yeah.
So I saw it behind the counter every time we went to the mall into KB Toys and coveted it. And I did get it one Christmas, and it was the best day
That's
of my life.
amazing. I believe my dad's actually in the chat. Hi, Dad.
Yeah.
What's up? Also, Hayden's asking if Fleur Scooter is just scary. It's not. We'll show it to you. And hi,
Hayden, you're
Scott
gonna.
and James.
Yes, hello. What's
Um,
James's emoji today? I can't tell.
I can't either.
A
James, what is
notepad?
that?
James, clarify. Ah,
Oh, crazed had a
green.
green scooter. Yeah, what's funny is I didn't know that about the handlebars. You did so much research. I
I really did. I just wanted to find my Razor scooter.
I love I wish I had mine still. Mine was blue, so I had the blue
Mm,
wheels, everything was blue. The thing is I remember the handlebars being blue. So I guess I got one of
you
the
got
limited
limited.
ones too. And I believe, Dad, maybe you remember, I think my parents got mine on eBay. It came
Whoa.
with the thing at the back, you know?
And that was like original eBay.
Yeah. Like back then, yeah. Well, and I remember getting like I think I got my first iPod on eBay. And that
Wow.
was like the one with the click wheel, was black and white.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I recall.
You
I even remember
scratches on
the
the
Jerk
back.
It Out commercial with that like silhouette dancing around.
Nice.
It's like ingrained in my memory. They should have paid that person very well for creating that segment.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Hayden, so we're gonna show the original though. So there was prior to the Razor scooters, things got really edgy, as we'll see with X-Men Evolution. Prior to the Razor scooters, there were these scooters. Kristen said she never had one. Sorry
I
for your
did not.
childhood, Larry. What was
Yeah.
going on there?
Yeah, what happened, Dad?
But there were these scooters, and I had one of those that I shared. It was Barbie with my sister.
Cute.
And they do still make these. I see them every once in a while at Walmart. And I think they look far safer, but way lamer. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that kid's a dweeb. What are we gonna say?
Yeah, like how fast can you really go on that thing, you know?
Not at all. Not at all.
Like truly. That kid's a
Uh,
dweeb.
so was I, based on the thumbnail for this video.
Yeah, same. Did you see those bangs? It's honestly a tragedy. Like it really is.
I love that I'm like grinning like an idiot, and you are like,
Yeah, that smile. What was
a little
happening
so
there? I don't know what that was.
but I think I was sharing with Kristen, I think the inspiration for why scooters partly took off was a huge part of my childhood, which was Brink, the Disney
Oh,
Channel original movie.
truly, when I think back to those movies, and there were so many great ones, of course,
Yeah,
but
of course.
I think Brink was my favorite.
Brink is so good. And we
It's
don't
so good.
talk enough about the cultural significance of Eric Von Detten,
Oh,
who not too long ago, maybe 2 years ago, I stalked him on Instagram. I was like, where did this guy go? This guy was so formative in my childhood for so many reasons. And he's just a normal dad now. He is just a normal dad living normal dad life things. And I think that's great for him.
yeah.
But
I I love that you did that because I did that not too long ago
oh,
either. I was just like, "Where is Eric Von Detten?"
that's how big of an icon he was.
I mean, truly, he was on my walls. Come on.
I did when I was like trying to find this photo, I was thinking, as one does in the middle of summer, the start of summer, what will my Halloween costume be? Because I'm just trying to get to the fall. And I
Yeah.
was like, can I find a Team Puppin Suds t-shirt? Because I have my
Oh.
rollerblades and I haven't grown much height wise since high school or since early high school. And that would be such an easy costume and I would look so rad. I just want to say, I think I could pull that off. And they do sell Team Puppin Suds. Redbubble has everything.
Ugh.
They've got a Team Puppin Suds t-shirt and I will own one as of October 2023.
I so want to be a part of that.
Let's do it.
Like, I so want to. I love that you still have your rollerblades. I've
Yeah.
been missing so much lately rollerblading.
Mm,
I used to love it so
yeah,
much. It was my preferred go-to. Loved a razor scooter,
me
but like
too.
rollerblades were the thing.
No, I
You know,
100% agree. Yeah. My
like I said.
church, this is now I am a dweeb. At my church, we had this gym, and the teens for youth night and actually Sunday mornings would pack our rollerblades. This was all inspired by Brink. I truly don't think many of us possessed them prior to that. And we had we would just go in circles like we were the coolest kids in town. And you know what? I miss those days. And I want that back. So I got to bring them
Yeah.
out too.
Do you remember the joy of like learning how to blade backwards?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
and then you felt so cool.
You were so cool. What
I
do you
mean,
mean think?
you're
What do you
right.
mean felt?
You're right.
We were so cool.
Uh, my dad said that sounds right, but he's not sure either.
Mm.
You're not so old, Dad. Come on
Gotta
now.
find that email from eBay from
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
1999, 2002.
Love that.
Um, so Kristen nominated Razor scooters, and I was like, "Hey, Kristen, what about the ultimate scar from childhood, floor scooters?" And she just, innocently had no idea. Well, did you have idea what I was talking about, or you just had no experience with them?
I had no idea what you were talking about, and then I looked
Wow.
it up, and I was like, it vaguely
Mm.
maybe, but I don't remember. I really don't remember playing on these in school.
Indiana wised up and outlawed them earlier. Although we shall see. I did research as well on are these still in use, and we will get there. But if you never had them before, they looked like this. They had most of them had handlebars on the side. And if you were a smart kid, you would put your hand like inside the square so that the bar was on the outside to protect you. Was I a smart kid? No, I
Mm,
was not. I put it on the outside. I thought that would give me more control, but that just means every time you tip, you just have
oh,
suddenly skinned all of your knuckles and such.
that
So
sounds terrible.
yes, but you would have races in them. You would did you ever do crab walking in gym?
Yeah, but I can't remember why.
I don't either. I also really hoping people not from the US are like,
Yeah,
what
like
is
what?
going on in
What
the
is
United
this?
States of America?
Hayden, are you confused?
As if they weren't concerned before. It's
Right.
escalated. But we would crab walk on them a little bit and play soccer. Like what were they doing with us? I don't know. But that's what they looked like. And then if you want to show the next one, let me see. Also, yeah, if you had these, I would love to know where you lived when you were a kid. Yeah, so this is a visual image, and these children are not smart. You can see they've got theirs on the outside. Watery Wizard said, so much fun with these scooters. How many scars did you have, Watery Wizard? Were you protecting your hands inside the square or were you on the outside? I
Are
have
your
to know.
knuckles still hurting?
Yes. I do have a small scar. You can't really see it inside here. That's from one of these where it got pinched on a
Oh,
wheel.
wow.
Yeah. You got to live to
That's
tell the
legit.
tales.
Love that.
Yeah. Oh, you can see in the background where you used to stack them on this little
Mm,
device. These were so big, an institutional part of gym where I grew up that they made devices for storage.
that's amazing.
Oh my goodness.
True Grove, a
Yes.
novel fan. I used to use these all the time in elementary school. It was fun.
They were a staple. That
I don't remember
and can
this.
you guess what the other staple is? Maybe Indy. I'm sure this was a shared US experience. They would pull it out and everyone would get so hype. Do you remember? Younger usually, elementary.
I don't know.
The parachute?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. We had that.
Oh
We
my
had
god.
that, of
When
course.
they whipped
Of
that
course.
baby out, everybody was hype.
Well, and what
Everybody.
about the maypole ribbons?
Oh, yes, I have a vague memory of that. We used to do it
Yeah,
at field day, I think, outside.
yeah, where we would like go around each other, and then you
Yeah.
would be like putting the ribbons on the yeah, I
And
remember that
honestly, what
too.
was that? What were
What
they
was it?
doing?
Yeah, yeah, because then we would like speed up and almost crash into each other. What were we doing?
What were they thinking?
Yeah.
Now there is another version of this. Ooh, Canadian kids loved the parachute too. That's right.
Ooh,
Because it
okay.
was safe and fun, and we were all a community. When they got us all under there, I thought we can solve the problems of the world under
Yeah,
this
it did
parachute.
feel nice, and
It
also
felt
why?
it felt cozy. There is another version of the floor scooter though. So we did have the handlebars for part of school, but actually when we got to middle school, we really were living on the edge, and Kristen will show the other version. And this is truly if they still make this version, somebody needs to come in. The school board needs to put a stop to it because there's no way to protect your hands. Watery Wizard says, I think they're to blame for my eternally bad penmanship. And
Nice.
this version, there's no protecting you. There's no protecting you. It
I
is
don't know how
like
you just don't fly off of it.
you do, Kristen. You do.
Also, why
That
is
is
there a
in
hole
fact
in the
the point.
middle? Is that a hole?
It is a hole. So I think why
Why?
I can tell you why. I actually
Okay.
remembered this as I was finding this image. There was like poles, short poles that were like 3 feet tall that had a solid square base, and you would stack them on top of each other. So you'd put
Oh,
like a donut kind of.
weird. Okay.
It is weird. And why was this the upgrade? Elementary school, I guess it's like training wheels. In elementary school, they gave me the handle to protect myself. And in middle school,
Even
they
though
were
it
like, we
didn't.
don't care.
I used to put a
Oh.
bunch of foam balls on it and make them pop up. Oh,
Oh.
interesting.
I like that.
I think that's a shop cart from Harbor Freight. It does look like that.
It does.
It looks like a furniture mover thing. You know what? You're
Actually,
right.
kind of is. Yeah.
Actually,
It's
like, why is this a toy for kids?
it's just missing the carpeted top to have friction to hold stuff. It isn't
Yeah,
a toy
that's
for
funny.
children. They were just like, "Hey, we ordered too many of these." That's what happened.
You
The
know what?
custodians were like, "We
They're
ordered
like,
too many. Let's make a death trap
yeah.
game."
They were like, this is cheaper. It's fine.
But the truly horrifying thing, and I don't know how well everyone can see this, but I was like, "Do they still use these?" They do. Do you see these children? They're wearing masks, which means this
That's wild.
happened.
And they're laying on them too. Oh, look,
Oh, yeah,
someone's
we did that
crashing in the
too.
back. You see that? Someone just wiped out. Wow.
Yeah, we used
That's
to do
amazing.
that as well. They are multi-purpose, I'll give them that. But could you just imagine one, like, wrong turn and you are just skinning against that gym floor?
Yeah, gym floors hurt anyway, right? I mean,
Mhm.
do any of you remember those small bean bags that you had to balance on top of your head?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
a little, I don't understand.
They were like, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but they were like cornhole or corn or bag toss, whatever you call
Mm.
them in your part of the
And we
world.
just had to like, yeah, we just had to like balance.
Yeah, that's what I recall. And we would
Interesting.
like have to do tasks. Like what a lot
What was
of this was
happening?
about balance, right? Like I'm assuming a lot of it was balance. They wanted us to be balanced. Did it work? I'm not sure.
I can hear the squeak of my
Yep.
hands on that floor out.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Oh yes. Well,
Well,
we're not sponsored by Floor Scooters, but they did live on the edge, much like
right.
our read for today, X-Men
Ooh,
Evolution. Did you like that
nice.
segment?
Nice
That was
transition. I loved it. So good.
so we will move into the Gold Star segment.
Yep,
Do we
I'm
want to
ready.
show our charts? Well, I can't show mine because mine already has stars on on
Well,
it.
so we're gonna do the stars at the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
I mean, I could show mine, but you wanted to do yours first.
Yeah,
So.
no, show yours.
Okay.
Oh, no, because then mine won't look as good.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll wait.
Kristen knows it won't, and that's why she's not fighting it. She's like, yeah, you should go
No.
first.
Listen, so I won't lie, Reed put his artistic charm on this. We picked out everything together and then, and
Okay.
I helped with layout.
Yeah.
But then so it does look good.
All right. I'm
It
excited
does.
about it.
It
I have
does.
to go
But
first. That's true.
should we start with
Yeah.
talking about the pilot though?
We should.
Okay.
That we should.
I actually have
did.
notes on this.
Oh, okay. Do you have notes about the creation of the show? I just wanted to do a little scene setting.
You killed it with that. You go ahead.
Okay, just in case you were not privy to X-Men Evolution, it premiered on November 4th, 2000 on, wait for it, Kids WB. That takes me back.
Yeah, it does.
I saw it and I was like, oh yeah. It lasted for 52 episodes. Kristen will set up the pilot, but know that between seasons 2 and 3, they do like a little bit of a time jump. But definitely premiered like with kids in school. And so like it fit the age demographic. I also saw it's the third longest running Kids WB show. The first 2 are also Marvel properties. And I wanted to see if you could guess, Kristen. Kids WB, longer than 52 episodes. There are 2. They're both Marvel properties.
some kind of Spider-Man show?
Spider-Man is number 2, second longest running on the
Okay.
KXWB.
I don't remember any others.
I can give you a hint about number
Okay.
1, that it's essentially the predecessor to what we read and watched.
Is it the other X-Men
Yes,
cartoon?
X-Men the
Okay.
Animated, so the original was
Okay,
kids
yeah.
WB. Yes, and for the last sense of place and time, the first place to run a toy line on X-Men Evolution was none other than Yo Quiero Taco Bell, when Taco Bell had
Oh,
toys. So we're really
amazing.
dating this property. So just some scene setting about X-Men Evolution.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. That takes me back too. I love to talk about toys.
Me too. I feel like
They're so
toys
good.
don't get enough hype anymore.
I agree.
Kids are always on their phones, so they don't care about it.
Yeah, but that was the best. The best.
Hmm.
Well,
So the
okay, so
pilot.
the pilot. I also had to have some quotes written down.
Oh,
So
all right, let's go.
yeah, we pretty much start out. If you don't know anything about X-Men Evolution, they are all teenagers. So there's drama. They
Love
all
it.
go to the same high school, Bayville. And the opening of the pilot really is showing a football game. Scott Summers is chilling with his sunglasses at night on the bench, and you see some of the probably the captain and other people of the football team run off and start bullying. Who ends up being Toad? Todd.
Todd
Todd
Talansky.
Toad. That's right. So Scott finds this out, and he's like, he goes to help Toad. So they call him Sunglasses and Night Summers, by the way, which I
Apt.
love. Yep. So he ends up getting punched by one of the football guys because he's trying to help defend Toad, and his glasses get knocked off. And of course, lasers fly out of his eyes and create an explosion, and everyone screams and runs away, and it's a whole situation. And that's pretty much how the pilot starts.
That's the setup. And you've one of the football players, for no reason whatsoever, they were like, "Hey, we gotta have a love triangle from jump." And so one of
Yes.
the football players is none other than most boring name on the planet for a red shirt of a TV show, Duncan. Duncan is sort of like just there to be blonde and be
Mhm.
into Jean. So that's Jean's
Yes.
boyfriend, and she is super into him, and it's a little off-putting actually in the pilot.
Yeah, I
You're
agree.
like, cringe.
Yeah,
But
it's a
you're
big
like, oh, I
yikes.
know she gets with Scott, so what's gonna happen? So
Mhm.
that's Duncan.
And that was my next little note. Gene dating football bro is what I called him.
Yeah,
So then we pretty much cut to the intro, right? Which what a
rad.
banger,
Ugh.
banger
Mm.
theme. Love it. Love the music. It was yeah. I was watching this on the couch with Reed. Reed had never watched X-Men
Oh
Evolution.
yeah. How did he like it?
He was like, "This is bad."
It gets good. It gets good.
Yeah, it definitely gets better beyond the pilot, that's for
Yeah.
sure. But that's a banger. Still to this day, a banger intro music, I feel like.
I mean, they had a lot to live up to because X-Men now like any millennial in 2023, my phone is never on. It's always on vibrate. But my ringtone, since we were able to pick ringtones, was the theme song from X-Men the Animated Series. A banger still to this day.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as this one was playing, I was like, should I change it? Again, I'm never going to hear it. Who's keeping their phone on? Not me, couldn't be me.
Couldn't be me.
Uh But you're 100% right, and I love the, like, weird, the other thing that was really big at the time in sitcoms particularly is when they would introduce a character, it would be like they would do a clip of them in the show doing something, and then they would have one that where they kinda looked at the camera, and it was very much giving that, only, like, some of them were, like, fighting crime and others were, like, doing homework, which felt like it encapsulated the show very well, so
100%.
it's a 10 out of 10. I wish the font for some of those names was still available on my computer today. I would use it.
Yeah,
It was
that
so
was
good.
pretty great. That was pretty great. And speaking of, what are users saying that showed the best version of Nightcrawler? It's what made me a fan. And that we pretty much get Nightcrawler as the new kid, like after that intro.
Yeah.
So we get to meet him and in his blue self and having a lot of self-esteem issues because of it.
Yeah.
And Professor X is like, hey, you're all my children. Come here. Also, here's a watch that makes you look like a human. So check it out.
Yes, Kurt, and probably actually I would also say this is the most, this whole show is the most sympathetic Toad is ever portrayed. Toad is very much a joke in everything, including a focal joke in right before X-Men Evolution, the first live action X-Men movie had come out, and actually during season 1 to really like give a sense of place and time, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie had come out as well. So that's kind of the era, and if you've seen that first X-Men movie, like Toad is definitely a joke, literally one of the worst jokes in the movie.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I can think of it right now.
Yep,
Is about
yep.
that. But in this show, yeah, they're kind of like two different sides of the same coin in that pilot. Kurt, you know, the one who gets accepted, he comes into the group, and then Toad, who at that point isn't really interested in that at all, and definitely is developing his own like mindset about things. So they're both portrayed very sympathetically in that first episode.
I agree. I also have a quote down from Scott.
Oh.
Which was, come on, Professor. He was whining. Come on, Professor. I'm packing a bazooka behind each eyeball. What do you want from me?
In the comic, we'll get there, but it drove me insane because, like, I've heard people say this, but in America, it never sounds right. When Scott will say, "Come on, Prof."
Oh.
No one's saying that. No one is saying that. We hate it, Scott. Stop. I will say this version, we'll get into it, the comic, but this version of Scott, and you started it out in the pilot talking about him standing up for against bullying. He doesn't even like Toad. He like verbally says, he's like, I don't even like him. But I do think like in the movies and even in some runs of the comic and all variations, you don't always get a sense of why Scott is the leader. You just know he is. But I will say, as much of a square as he is in Evolution, you do get a sense, especially in the comic, I thought, why he was chosen as the leader. And so I was always a little bit more sympathetic towards him than I think like my counterparts watching like X2 and X3 later were, you know, about him. So I think they did well in this series, portraying him as a good leader.
I agree. I generally don't like Scott in other depictions.
Yeah, me either.
But I understood it in this one. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, you know, this makes sense to me.
Yeah.
He was very much, not to throw it back to another problematic show that I loved.
Let's go.
He was very much like the Finn Hudson from Glee of the group. You know, I got that vibe of like, he was, you know, he's the guy who's helping with bullying, even though he doesn't care, but he looks like he could be a model kind of thing, you know? But also he's a nerd.
He's a square for sure. Except for his shades. They're very cool.
Very cool. My dad's saying about that older X-Men series, well, the theme was great. They gave Wolverine a French Canadian accent. That was just awful, not accurate. Yeah, my dad goes on about that. He does.
Let's go on about Kurt's German accent.
I mean,
it was, the man has never had a bratwurst. He never has.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely. They really tried with accents in this one.
They were doing the most. They were all capital letters, TM, the most. The voice acting is there's none of them actually that are really standouts. Like, I don't think throughout the whole series. It's not to say they're all bad, like, but they're very average. I will say that's kind of the only big downside, right? Like, if you're into thinking about those things, I think it's very mediocre, the voice acting.
Yeah, I agree. I did want to also, I made a note that the background music throughout is pretty amazing. Like, there were just these moments
of the Hill Street Blues interlude, you mean?
Yeah, just like interesting. Wow. Yeah. And I was like, this is amazing. This is the best. It just it was very nostalgic for me. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it does have, so I watched several episodes once I had watched the pilot, and then I did watch like a retrospective on it that another creator had done. I'll try to mention them at the end because it was a really cool retrospective just to remember like the setup of the world. And they talked about the music, and I will say this is true, like the score is pretty solid, like when they have the actual score to things, but the choices across the board are like no name pop hits. And then like Hill Street Blues music, like like you are in a whole other soap opera world at times. But I think that's beautiful, and that to me is X-Men, so that works for me.
Absolutely. And the pilot pretty much ended on Nightcrawler versus Toad.
It's true. Yeah.
And yeah.
And
And there were 4 seasons, yeah?
yeah, I believe so. And I was gonna say, like, if you are someone who hasn't watched or watched in a while, it gets a lot better than the pilot. And as I mentioned at the beginning, seasons 1 and 2, pretty much everyone is in high school except for Storm, Wolverine, of course, Professor X. I think that. Oh, and then Hank McCoy, Beast, one of my favorite characters of all time in comics. They are adults for really no reason whatsoever. There is no
Yep.
reason for that. But then between seasons 2 and 3, some of the cast get aged up a bit, and it does change significantly. Season 2, I think, is my favorite when I looked up like episodes. So I definitely think it gets progressively better, and it is still worth checking out, I think, in 2023, honestly. But the pilot is a pilot.
Yeah, it's definitely a pilot. Also, I mean, my favorite character in the series is Rogue, and we don't even get to
Oh, it's
experience her
true. Yeah.
yet. So
I was thinking about that because you and I talked about a scene that I have a note on to share in this. I guess in the spoilers we can talk about it. But yeah, there a lot of the characters that will come in later. Kitty Pryde also not in this. Pietro Quicksilver not in this. Comes in later. Scarlet Witch, who has the craziest earrings of all time, also not yet. So this cast gets much larger. I do think when you're watching the pilot, you don't get a sense for, like, Nick Fury is in this at one point. It becomes quite sprawling in a way that honestly can't be replicated today because of all the licensing issues. So it is cool to revisit a simpler time back in the day. So yeah.
it's a good
But
point.
we'll talk about some of the spoiler show stuff later.
Yeah. So then, of course, we move on to the comic series.
The omnibus.
Yeah, there were only 9 issues of this series, and the way it was set up was quite interesting too.
Yeah.
And I will say, just for reference, I had this little edition.
Oh, it's so small.
Yeah, I was trying to show you, like, without having this one the other day, but so what's interesting about this came out, like, probably when the series was coming out. This was the, X-Men Evolution Digest edition. There are only, issues 1 to 4, and the paper, you can't really
Oh, it's
tell, but
very,
it's like
yes, it's flat.
yeah, it's really it's not
Wow.
shiny, it's interesting choice, but I've had this since I was probably a teenager. And then I upgraded because they released this full thing this year, I believe, and it's quite bigger. So I am happy about that
That's crazy because this is
existing.
not
It's also not,
big.
yeah, it's not even like a
This is
regular
like
trade
a
size.
full for perspective, like this is like a full size trade. Interesting.
Yeah, it's wild.
Wild. Yeah, this series came out January. I was like, when did the series come out? January 2002, canceled for low sales. We'll talk about why probably. But the
Yeah.
setup is interesting because spoiler free, the first 3 issues of this are essentially a prequel to the show. They're like vignettes of pieces of the show coming together before the pilot
Hmm.
episode. And then issues 4 through 9 kind of take place concurrently during various points of the show. Like it's not a consistent story and it doesn't line up consistently with like an episode order necessarily, which was choices were made. And I'm
Yes.
just wondering like why that choice was made and wondering did this lead to the cancellation? Unclear. But
Yeah.
that is the setup for kind of how it's laid out.
Yeah. And having the prequel, parts, it does expand if you are a fan of the show. It does
Yeah.
expand your knowledge there. I feel like the rest of it was stuff we've kind of already experienced in the show.
Yeah, I agreed.
Um, the art's interesting.
Oh, the art. Let's talk about the art change at the end. Let's just go right to
Oh,
the end. I want to show
oh my
everyone
gosh.
how this ends. It's no spoiler. It's not a spoiler.
No.
Just wanting to share this face that I will
Yeah,
have
let me
haunting my nightmares. Kurt has
same.
nightmares in like the second or third issue,
Same.
and this is now my nightmare. What is happening here?
It's so
It's
strange. What a choice they made. What a choice they made.
there. One more. I'm so sorry. It's not a
No, that's
spoiler.
okay.
See if I can get it. This man's bandana looks like a Hershey Kiss top.
Okay, so I actually highlighted,
Wow.
I think my favorite weird art choice
Oh,
throughout
let's go.
this,
All right.
which wasn't even the last issue, which was a problem. But so is the other art. So Scott and how he is. I
I
should probably
do.
make myself
Yeah.
bigger too, so you can really see this because
It's a winner.
it's a winner, I think. So there's Scott, and then can we focus on that camera? What what are these tiny baby hands he has here? Look at his little weird proportioned. His arms are
Wow.
short, his hands are baby-like. And then down here, we keep going, and he has the weirdest big arms, tiny body. It's just so strange. But these baby hands got me good. I
The
was just like,
baby hands are like a whole meme right there.
it reminds me of do you know that SNL skit with Kristen Wiig and the little doll
Oh,
hands?
yeah.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
that's what it reminded me of.
This was actually the inspiration. This was the
Yeah,
material.
it probably was.
Yeah, the art is nothing to write home about. I will say,
Mhm.
up until the last issue, I don't know though. Were there artist changes between 1 through 8, or was it just 9? I'm actually not sure.
I think it was just 9,
Okay.
and let's see if
The rest of it felt consistent, even if it was a different
yeah,
artist. And it is not too dissimilar to the animation on the show, because the animation at the time, that sort of big shoulder, little waist, and the world's tiniest butt. I just have to talk about it. It was so distracting in the pilot how like tiny
yeah,
his butt was.
yeah,
Um, that was like stylistically not too dissimilar from some other animated shows happening at the same time. So I will say, like, one thing about the art in the comic is like it doesn't feel like whiplash from the like animated version, which to
true.
bring new people in, like, makes sense. Did they bring new people in? Sounds like they did not. They were not
No.
successful.
No, and I agree, like, it is at least, yeah, it's not jarring from the show, like, it makes sense, and I will
Yeah.
say, the artist and colorist in the front, it says Udon Studios with Longvo, Charles Park, and, I mean, there's, like, studios involved,
Yeah.
so I think that's a lot of digital art trying to
Yeah.
replicate the style,
Yeah.
and then, of course, there's issue 9, which is just something else
This
entirely.
my nightmares. Yeah. Mhm.
I also hated that, it's very strange. Oh, Duck Collector's here for the personal pan pizza.
Let's go.
Keep
You
reading.
only earned one slice out of 8 so far. There are 8 weeks.
That's
We're
right.
working towards that party at the end.
That's right. And hi, Chris.
Yeah. Hey, Chris.
Partworks Comic Reader says probably down to not great sales, but only seasons 1 to 3 of Evolution ever got a region 2 DVD release. That's a bummer. I don't think they even came out. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think they came out in seasons in the US. It was just like those weird, like, one DVD, here's some random episodes, because I had
Yeah.
some of those.
That was the vibe. Power Rangers also did that when we were kids. I had several VHS tapes that were like 5 randomly chosen episodes. Sometimes they
Mhm.
would be like, these are Trini-centric episodes, or these are whatever. And then sometimes it was like they did not put any thought into it.
Hello, Axel. Deathtone says, "Oh, X-Men Evolution,
Yes.
I needed one more season. There's a moment that needed
Yes.
resolved."
Yeah, I had to look up kind of the trajectory because I really couldn't remember. I just remember it getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and like my little mind was like being blown because I wasn't reading comics as a kid.
Yeah.
And the last season, they were potentially going to get another season, and so it acts more as a season finale than a series finale. Unlike some other shows, it's not just total cliffhanger. So like there is some, but completely agree. It was really building towards something, and they never got to get there.
And it's a bummer. Cray says it's like better art than the first 8 issues, but also so much worse style-wise at the end.
Yeah, that's okay. I
It's
could see what you're saying. Yeah.
which I do think if it were anything else other than this, I would probably agree with. Do you know what I mean? It was just so drastically different.
Yeah.
Like, it's a stylized art choice
Yeah.
that I could see in some other comic. You know what I mean? But,
Yeah.
like, it was so strange with them. So strange. Even, like, there was one, let me find it. There was one shot, here it is, of Scott and Spike standing next to each other. Now, Scott is not that much taller than him. What is that? It's just so strange. He looks like a little child.
At least a choice was made.
I guess
Uh,
so.
at least a choice was made.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, Dad. JJ Kirby did the last issue. Chris never saw the show. Do you know how long Laura X-23 was on the show?
I was trying to look that up for you, Chris, and I can try to look it up later too. So this is really important for people who don't know that X-23 was invented on, it's my understanding, X-Men Evolution, which is pretty wild. Just like Harley, I mean, such a successful character now, like Harley Quinn coming out of Batman the Animated Series. So like, they were really taking big swings that really work. A lot of them did work in these like animated 90s, 2000s properties. It looks like, I remember her being on for like half a season, but at quick internet glance, it seems like a couple of episodes. So we'll look it up fully, but that's what I could find initially.
Apparently, seasons 4 and 5 got season boxes for each one way after the fact. Don't think there's
Oh.
ever been a full series box. We need that. We need that, right?
Yeah,
that'd be
the
fun.
world needs that.
The episodes are in order, but only like 4 per DVD until season 3, which is complete
Wow.
season 2. So strange, the choices that were made. Which, by the way, if anyone is like, hey, nostalgia, where can I watch it? You can find it on Disney Plus in the States, at least. I believe there are also episodes on YouTube.
Yeah, the full seasons are on YouTube. Yeah.
Which is fun.
Yeah, would recommend. Yeah, do we want to give our non-spoiler before we? I'm afraid we're going to start slipping into spoilers. Do we want to give our non-spoiler review now?
Sure.
We're giving stars. Stars mean different things to different people, so I'll show mine. But for the record, 1 star for me means like I want a refund, please.
Yeah.
2 stars is like I'm annoyed that I had to read this, slightly annoyed. 3 stars is like it was fine. 4 is very solid, and 5 is no notes. Mine doesn't look as good as Kristen, so that's why I'm going first. But
we don't know that.
We will show our charts each time. You can see.
Cute.
Mine's got my reads on this side. I'm always backwards, so there are more than 8 because a couple of weeks we'll have 2. I wound up giving it 3 stars. It was like it was fine. It was almost 3.5, but the half was really sheer nostalgia. But we'll be keeping tracks, earning our way to getting a pizza at the pizza party on the last week. An artist, just my dog who doesn't have opposable thumbs. So
he could have helped though.
He was like, "What are you doing here?" Anyways, 3 gold stars for me. It was fine.
I was telling you beforehand that I was waffling back and forth with my rating. So I will live put stars on this, but I think I'm with you. Do I think if I would have went into this as someone who's never watched the show, would I have liked it? I'm not sure I would have.
No.
Yeah. I think I would have had a lot of judgment. Because so a big part of my rating is nostalgia and how it did align with the show. There were weird choices made, but yeah, I will add that to my chart. So this is the chart where my artist husband helped put together. Should I make me big? Should I do that?
Absolutely. We got to see the work.
Okay, here we go. So it starts out.
Oh my gosh.
Cool kids learn here. Here we go. Here we go.
Wow. That's like you are giving a presentation at a science fair.
I know,
that
right?
is amazing.
We wanted that vibe of like we had to make an art project.
It's got the vibe.
So we found all this at Dollar Tree. So shout out Dollar Tree.
I love it.
And there's little extra doodles of some things that make sense with each thing, right? So Reed did a great job. Shout out to Reed.
So good. And just like some kids, you had help. You know how kids are like, "Mom, Dad, I got a school project due tomorrow." So you were really carrying out the theme. You're like, "Husband."
That's exactly it.
It's due tomorrow.
So yeah, got these stars.
Love it.
And I plan to just put them in each thing every time.
Yeah,
so
I like that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I'm going to give it 3. So let's pop out 3 of these stars, shall we?
I am so glad you went first. You got lots of praise here in the chat.
Can something get 6 stars?
You know, Mark, I saw that, and honestly, maybe there are no rules.
You know what? Yeah, we don't have. I was like, no, but you know what? Yeah, we don't have rules. We don't have rules at all. It would be cool if they continue the story from the show in a comic series, kind of like Smallville.
Oh, Watery Wizard. Those Smallville comics are so good. And recently, I learned Kristen doesn't totally hate Clark Kent because she did like Smallville.
I did. I didn't finish it, but I liked it at the
Yeah.
beginning, and I just didn't stay with it for some reason.
I think
But I
that
did.
show,
I
I
liked
mean,
it.
we'll talk about it that week, but I totally agree. I love the comic continuation of that. I own them all. A lot of them were at Ollie's for a long time, but I haven't seen any for a bit.
Love that. Oh, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. Shout out to Reed. A plus for Chris. Thank
Love
you,
it.
Chris. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Dang.
Appreciate it. So
Woohoo.
yeah, I don't have gold stars, but I do have fun colors, which I also got at Dollar Tree. I just stuck this back, and now it's like no.
I just love it. I love your commitment to doing it live on air. Me, I would be like trying to do it in front of the camera, and I'm like, it's backwards. It's fair.
Well, again, I just felt, again, I guess it's just like if I would have went into this series not having knowledge of the show, I'd be like,
No.
this isn't great. This isn't
No, it
great,
really is. It is truly supplementary material in every sense of that. I think we're about to get into it, but I think for me the most interesting and solid part actually was the beginning, which were like the prequel issues. So 3 stars in the
It's
gold
three.
star segment from you.
Yep.
3 rainbow stars, mine 3 gold stars.
There
I
we
think
go.
check it out if you like the show. If you like the show, get it from the library. It's like $5 on in stock trades at all times.
Yeah, and you know what? That's a great this list price. I know it's not like a full size trade,
Yeah,
but it's still a little chunky
it
guy.
is.
And it's $13 a list. So yeah,
Yeah.
In Stock Trades has it for very cheap. That's where I got mine.
It's a good
We're
one
not
to add when
sponsored.
you are just trying to get to yes. It's a good buy Razor scooters or buy in stock trades.
That's right.
It's a good one that's like, "Oh, I'm close to $50. Like, I'm gonna add something." This is a great one to, like, filler
Perfect.
put in there.
I
Absolutely.
agree. I agree.
But we will move into the book report, filled with spoilers. So if you don't want spoilers, which again, don't worry about it, we're gonna
Yeah.
start, talking specifics.
Yeah, I feel like there's not much we can really spoil here, so
There's not. I did have one thing about the show I wanted to share with you now that it is time, because you and I were chatting about a super famous GIF. I don't know if you have it where you might be able to pull it up
Oh, I don't, but I'll try to
um
find it.
uh of Rogue and Kitty Pryde dancing. It's from episode 8, I think, of season 1. And it's an episode where Storm's nephew, Evan, question mark, who is a main character on the show, Spike, gets to do a class project where he's like filming things. And so this is like a GIF that gets used quite a bit now. And Kristen was like, it's so reminiscent of that one scene. And I don't, Kristen, do you remember the episode of Buffy
I
that you were thinking of?
I don't remember the exact episode. Let me just but it's probably on this website.
I
Can you see
had
that?
it. Oh, yeah. There it is. You see it right there.
Yeah, okay, it's called Bad Girls. That Buffy episode, Bad Girls, with Buffy and Faith dancing at the Bronze.
And
Shout out to the Dork Review who has this.
I love that. Okay, here we go. So I found this on CBR.com because I was like, Kristen, you're totally right. It's exactly that. CBR did a bunch of articles with Joss Whedon, who, as you folks may know, heavily involved. Was he the producer of the first X-Men movie or just the director?
I feel like he did the script for the first one.
Yeah, I think so, because the
Because he did
article
that joke.
Yes. The article that was linked was something I did not know. So you probably knew this, but I'm going to blow your mind if not, because I was like, Kristen is so smart. She didn't even realize that she knew these connections. So one of the articles on CBR.com is an interview with Joss Whedon where he's talking about why he chose Summers as Buffy's last name is because he's a huge X-Men fan. And it is
Mhm.
after Scott Summers. I did not know this. But also that in the original version of the script for the first X-Men movie, there was an Easter eggy joke about Scott Summers' cousin, Buffy. They weren't going to use her name, but they were going to allude to where she was kind of in place and time. That did later get cut, but I had no clue. So these parallels go both ways. It was a symbiotic relationship. So I'll read this, that in season 1 of X-Men Evolution, Spike Cam focuses on Evan Daniels, aka Spike, created for the series. Spike spends the episode recording his daily life with a video camera. He tries to get a shot of Kitty and Rogue dancing, where they discover the latter can't really move that well at all. And after a little convincing from Spike, Rogue uses her powers to duplicate Kitty's more rhythmic dance moves. This leads to the pair dancing, etc. This is partly because the dance actually had a direct live action inspiration to help guide the animators. During an interview with Beyond Evolution fan site, X-Men Evolution producer Boyd Kirkman revealed the scene was specifically replicating. And I don't know if you knew this. Did you know this?
I didn't know it. No.
It was specifically replicating a scene from Buffy the Vampire Slayer's season 3's Bad Girls, focused on Buffy and her fellow Slayer, the more chaotic and rebellious Faith. So it's like a direct
I mean, it
adaptation.
looks like it is, and that's what I assumed, but I didn't know the whole like story behind it.
I did not
exciting.
know that either. It was really, you were spot on though. I was like, yeah, it is that, and it is that.
Awesome. I love
So
that. I didn't know
just
the
wanted to share it.
cousin Buffy thing either. That's awesome.
Yes. But yeah. So that's just a little spoiler for episode 8 of season 1. Some dancing.
Yeah. Brian Singer.
Oh,
was
thank
the
you.
director.
Yes, yes.
And my dad says Joss was an uncredited script doctor on X-Men. Yeah, he
Thank
did
you,
like
thank you.
he definitely did that joke. I don't know what else he did. And
That
hello
joke.
Bar. We always talk about Buffy. I like how, unlike Jess, Chris is actually stick to the theme. Thanks, Bar.
We're trying.
We're trying to do it.
So yeah, spoilers.
Yeah. I don't even. This isn't really a spoiler, but one thing that really bothered me that seemed to keep happening, and I'm wondering if your reading experience was similar. I would get to the end of an issue, specifically, I think toward the middle, and there would be some kind of something unresolved, and then they just go into the next one that has nothing to do with it.
Yes.
And I was like, what exactly are we doing here? And that was like consistent throughout, and probably confusing for anyone reading it, and probably why it got canceled. One of the reasons, at least.
One of the reasons.
So that was annoying.
They did that. They also did this thing, which did feel very like they used to do this. Cliffhangers, I felt like, were such a big thing before streaming because you had to get people to come back like the next week. I feel like there's still cliffhangers, but all you got to do is hit a next button. So it's a lot less work than like being in the same place and time next week. But they also did this thing where they would have out of context images from the next issue. One that I'm thinking of specifically is, I think it was issue 4 or 5, previewing the next one, had Scott and Jean laying down like on top of one another, kissing each other. Turns out they were practicing CPR in the next issue, but it was like, oh, is she cheating on her football star boyfriend Duncan? Find out next week.
Yes.
But it's like, find out next week. We're children. We don't have cars or money to find the next thing.
That's so funny and so true.
It's so true. Yeah, there were things like that. There was also like a rundown of the cast, which wasn't too bad. I kind of liked that, where they would show each of the characters like before the new issue. But the first 3, as we said, are prequels. So the first one focuses on the recruitment of Storm. The second one, called Seeing Clearly, focuses on Scott. The third one, Hearing Things. They should go to a doctor, maybe a real professor, perhaps.
Yeah.
Focuses on the recruitment of Jean. So these are characters that are already established when the show starts as being around. So yeah, issue 1, Storm is in grad school. We also get Eric Magnus and his relationship and different outlook on life than Professor X. And we, for no reason whatsoever, get Mystique in a French maid costume. I'm not complaining, but it was a choice. Choices were made. What did you think of issue 1?
Issue 1, I'm like glancing through to make sure I know what I'm talking about here. It was kind of just like a lot of introductions thrown together to me. And I feel like we could have had some stuff that was more drawn out with like every character, but instead we kind of just got little bits from like the characters they're introducing.
Yeah, because we also get, I apologize, we also get Wolverine at like the very beginning.
The very beginning, yeah. But we didn't really, I feel like that could have been the whole issue. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And per usual, Storm gets the shaft because she has to share. One gem from this issue is, I always respect about Magneto his commitment to the bit. Like, that man knows how to costume. And there's a lot of fireside chats. There's like 4 fireside chats throughout these 9 issues. And I just want to share the fireplace at Magneto's. I mean, that is a commitment to aesthetic. And branding is so important. And he does it well. That is just
absolutely
beautiful. He also has a great quote that I think like really typifies their relationship, which when he's talking to, for no reason whatsoever, French maid Mystique, he says about Professor X, he has a chronic case of idealism. And I do love that because there's like a
Mm.
parallel later with Scott. So I enjoyed that. He doesn't appear, I don't believe, in any of the other 8 issues, but that fireplace made a lasting impression and may be one of my favorite panels personally.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you, and I really don't think he does appear. You're
Nope.
right. And that's the thing about, like, a lot of these, some
Oh, they drop
people,
you in and out. Yeah.
they drop you in and out like crazy, so that's frustrating. I will say, Scott's origin in the second
Yeah.
episode,
Second
Seen
issue.
Clearly, I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it. You at the beginning, you see him come through a hospital, and they take out his bandages, and just, like, he blows a big hole in the side of the building. Then the professor comes in to meet him. I ultimately like what happened with, everyone was scared of Scott. They didn't want to go in his room.
Yeah.
All of these healthcare workers.
Yeah.
And the professor was like, "You're gonna do it. Like, you're gonna do it." He got in their
Mhm.
minds. He made them be nice to Scott.
Yeah. Sort of
Because
problematic, but we'll let it go for now.
yeah. So he was like, "Well, I don't want him to, like, deal with, like, people being mean to him and stuff." And toward the end,
Mm.
we do get a resolution to that where
Oh,
he's
loved that.
yeah, where the professor's like, "I was wrong and I shouldn't have
Hmm.
done that. And, you're stronger than that and I shouldn't have done it." And I was like, "You know what? We don't see that often, right?" Like,
No.
so often, even with comics we still read, I feel like you don't get that, "Hey, I apologize, I did this wrong,"
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm.
So I like that. I like
I
that a lot.
did. I did love that. Scott's reply per our conversation earlier, when Professor X says, "I didn't want you to see this because I thought if you were exposed to all his hatred, you yourself would become embittered." And he says, "Quote, not my style, prof." But I did love it, and it is yet another fireside chat that occurs in.
It's
It's
all
like the
fireside chat.
equivalent of the Full House hug. It's like, oh, the fireside chat. I did it. You also get a fun. He does a little road trip with
Oh,
Wolverine. All
yes,
the stuff
yes.
with Wolverine is funny because later they really play up this love triangle with Jean, which isn't quite appropriate in
I
this version because Jean and
No,
Scott are
it's
like high
not.
schoolers. But there's like seeds of it. Like they know that some of the readers will have this in their head.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark's wondering if that's a custom fireplace or did he order it from the fireplace catalog. People love fireplaces in this, that's for sure.
They do. And actually, Mark, in a later issue, Professor X talks about how when they're doing they destroy the house in a plot, as one does. And he's like, that's okay. We built that into the annual budget. And I just
Yeah.
imagine there's some kind of special insurance for like super
Mhm.
villains and like superheroes. And, Matt Murdock is doing something with law that's helping out here.
That's for sure. Watery Wizard imagines Magneto's real estate is filled with his own metal sculptures.
You know what? I never thought about that. And that's probably true.
That is probably true. Yeah, the nice moment was ruined by Prof.
Not my style, prof. I could just like hear it in the cartoon version. Yeah, I liked that one as well.
Yeah,
Issue 3, the last prequel issue, Hearing Things, is
hearing things.
Jean's, and homegirl is hearing things. Never have
She
I
heard a
seen
lot of
so
stuff.
many bubbles.
I
Yes,
was
there you
gonna
go.
say, the
Show that,
moment I
yeah.
opened it up, I was like, we got too many bubbles. What's going on?
Which is
She is
hard.
hearing
Like
all the things.
one thing they did very well is actually the whole show and this series too benefits from this, the whole theme a lot in X-Men is like being on the outside, being different, being feared for being different. And that is also like the number one fear people often experience in adolescence is like, I'm different. I mean, you saw our thumbnails. I'm sure both of us were like, oh God, I am being judged all the time. And you yourself hear those. I can't imagine actually hearing and knowing like in your mind what other people are thinking. Like I thought they did that very well,
Yeah,
which they
I
do
do
in the
agree.
show as well.
I definitely agree. Michael's in here with some information on what Joss did. So Joss
Oh yes,
wrote
thank
a
you.
draft of the script, but it got rejected because, according to Whedon, it had quick-witted pop culture referencing tone, which didn't fit the X-Men.
Mm.
Only 2 lines of dialogue from a script were used in the final movie: the exchange between Cyclops and Wolverine when Cyclops suspects he's Mystique, and Storm's statement about what happens to it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Ironically,
it's
Whedon's
so bad.
X-Men comic Gifted would be a major inspiration for X-Men: The Last Stand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought those were 2 moments that I remembered. I didn't know what all else he did. And
Hmm.
what's funny about that, like, I don't know if you all know the background there, but I mean, Joss is the worst, but apparently the way he wrote it, they did not do it the way he wrote it. So then it's just like the
Mm.
worst thing in the movie.
The delivery is so weird. Like,
I think that's a huge part of it, right?
yeah, it's
Like
the delivery.
it's
It
so
sounds
strange.
like a parable and a joke mixed with sarcasm, mixed with like a prophecy all at one time. It's very
It's
chaotic.
so strange. I don't understand how well Bryan Singer's a problem too, but how he was like, "Good job. Let's keep that one." Like what?
That was Ace's
Um,
prof.
yeah, the mature for her age and beautiful too quote from Wolverine was a little cringe, which I believe was somewhere in this this third issue, right?
Yeah.
Like he thinks, oh, she's beautiful and she's mature for her age. It's like that's creepy. It's too much. It's creepy. I don't like it.
Yeah.
She's
Agreed.
in high school. It's not okay. But yeah, again, too many bubbles.
Very oh my gosh.
So many bubbles.
How her and Scott, I mean, they do, as we talked about, they're adults in season 3. So there's like a skip forward and they are leaders. And in some ways, when they made the choice to put them in high school, they still always acted like they were above and older, like what was going on.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, choices were made. I don't know how consistent they were with them, but
Yeah, and
um,
again, speaking of art, I
oh
just
yeah,
can't. I just can't with Scott's face here.
that just
Uh,
reminds me of this was 2002, but that's very 90s to me. Like right away, I'm like, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
I feel that.
It was a pretty good issue. Also, unexplainably in issue 3, so in issue 2 in the hospital, Professor X basically threatens this bigot, healthcare worker
Yeah.
scientist to make the quartz, ruby quartz. Is that what it is? Yeah, ruby quartz
Hmm.
glasses, visor for Scott, which was like a big deal. Like he made these, and then I didn't really understand. All of a sudden, there were sunglass versions of it. Did the man not patent his work, or
Yeah, like
did
it's a
somebody
great
rip off his
question.
intellectual property? Like, I feel like we skipped some things.
Yeah, we definitely skipped some
So he
things.
does get his glasses in issue 3, which I guess is important to establish, because that's
Yeah.
his nickname in the pilot. So,
Yep, that is true.
Scooby Doo.
And at the end of this Jean Grey issue,
Yeah.
so because she's hearing everyone's thoughts, what Scott is often saying when he's looking at her is "Wow,
Wow.
wow, just
Wow.
wow, wow." And then at the end, he
Could be
pops
worse,
in.
Kristen, though. Could
No,
be
it could
worse.
be. It could be way worse. But Jean is having a moment with Professor X. He's helped her like calm down her
Mhm.
thoughts and like be able to
Mhm.
focus better and not have everybody drowning her out, as you do throughout one little issue.
Yeah.
She can so control her powers just like that, which is cute. But Scott pops his head in and he goes, "Wow." And then Jean's like, "Oh no, it's not working. It must not be working." And then Professor's like, "It's
Oh,
all right.
yeah.
He said it out loud
Oh,
this
yeah, I
time."
remember that part. Yeah, it's a good part.
And I was like,
I
this is pretty
did
good.
I love
It's
it?
pretty
I did.
yeah, yeah,
I did
it's
love that part.
great.
Yeah, that was a solid the prequel issues, I totally agree, like, they could have drawn them out more. In fact, when I started reading this, I was like, "Is this all prequel?" Because, like, I would
Mhm.
be okay with that. Even if it was, like, Kitty Pryde and Rogue, like, off-screen prequel, I would have really
Yeah,
enjoyed that, and I
I
don't know,
agree.
I think I would have rather read that, because then we move into issue 4, and it becomes not only concurrent with the show, but not evenly concurrent. We're just jumping all
Yeah.
around. The 4th issue is called Am I Blue? So, obviously, this is a Kurt issue.
Mhm.
And like you said before, like doesn't show too much different from what we saw in the literal pilot. So one thing it does show, Kristen, I want to talk about the classes they take
Okay,
at
yeah.
the Xavier Institute because first off, I'm always confused, even watching the show. In Bayville High School, the public high school these youths attend, they
Mhm.
all know these kids as quote from that weird boarding school. And
Right,
what do they think the boarding school is? Like, because they don't know, right? Like, and they're not
right.
supposed to know, and that's like a plot point. So like, what do they think they're doing to these kids? And what they're doing is teaching yoga in karate outfits and giving nonsense quotes about it. At one point, I'll just show it in a second. Wolverine says, "Relax, Summers. Yoga isn't about trying as hard as you can. It's about
Yeah,
accepting what you are."
yeah, right
What
there,
does that
yeah.
mean? And why are you wearing karate outfits?
It doesn't make any sense. I was so confused too. I'm like, "What?" They were like, "This'll be comfy, I guess?" I don't understand.
That this Wolverine too, I will say the portrayal, a lot of the portrayals I love, and some of them are kind of new hardcore different takes like Rogue. Rogue, I feel like gets lots of different takes as a character.
Yeah.
But I will say about this Wolverine, he's very soft compared to how you see him in pretty much anything else, as evidenced by his commitment to like Zen yoga quotes that
Right.
he's clearly making up. Um, but yeah, his portrayal is quite interesting. Death Tone,
Yeah,
I
I
didn't even
agree.
think about this, but you're totally right. Reminded of the Buffy episode where she can hear everyone's
Oh,
thoughts. And as
which
we
was
know,
great.
that's who knew? It could be a
Yeah,
direct inspiration.
that's true. That is true.
Um, but yeah, do you have anything specific from issue 4? I mean, it's very repetitive from the
It's
pilot.
I mean, that's the big thing, right? Like, you just, you feel for Kurt and you're
Yeah.
sad for him. And then at the end, what I will say is so, one of the big, how this starts out is he's in English class and
Mm,
they're like, we need you to write about who you can be at home, but not anywhere else or something like that. Right.
yeah.
And he's like, I don't know what to write. Yeah. What am I at home that I can't be at school? Because obviously there's a huge
Yeah.
one, but he can't write about that.
Mm.
Well, he's in class and he's went through all this stuff, so he's feeling better. And so he's in class and he has his essay. And I'm like, but he couldn't write it. And then he starts writing and he turns it in and it just says blue on the cover. And I'm like,
Oh
wait,
yeah.
but there's a staple. And I'm like, did he sit there and write the whole thing? There was some confusion for me. I was
Well, he only has a
very
few fingers, so
well.
and
Well,
his
he has more fingers when he has the watch on.
one thing we haven't talked about if you haven't seen the show or read the book is, and it's kind of important in this one because the person he hands it to, I believe, is like the principal who is Mystique in disguise and also Kurt's
Mm,
mom, and also Blue often.
mhm.
So that was pretty cool. And we get this nice teaser for the issue 5. This is nice. That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
I liked
that's a good
that.
cover.
I was
That's
into
a good
that.
cover.
Yeah. Yeah, so quite repetitive. Issue 5, Untouchable. This is largely guess, right? Untouchable. Oh,
But
there
it
it is.
starts
There's
with
the
this.
and you're like, "Oh my god, she's
You're like,
cheating on Duncan."
also, what a weird looking kiss,
Yeah,
right? It's
it's
just
not the
so
best.
strange.
Oh, these are the we talked about this earlier, but the like roll call, very like video game, like choose your
Mm,
character, but
yeah,
very helpful, I will say,
yeah, I
if you're
agree.
not like into it. Yeah, about this kissing, my only note was they're defining CPR in the danger room with the real definition, and then Rogue, who's a little bitter in this episode or this issue,
Mhm.
says CPR, connivingly perfect redheads. What a dig! What a dig!
What a dick.
Wow, choices were made.
Yeah.
She is funny though. Oh, here she is, connivingly. Where? Oh, I'm so bad at doing that. Where she's sticking her tongue out. That
Yeah.
felt very right too, like, I could just picture the animated version
Yeah.
of her doing that. Yeah. So this is a Rogue episode. Mystique basically is trying to get her to join the Brotherhood, which is, like, portrayed as a frat house, which I did love. I do love about the
Mhm.
show.
I do love that too.
And so she, like, basically disguises herself as people Rogue knows, messes with her, and then, like, conveniently gets the Brotherhood guys, particularly Pietro, to be around and be, like, the good guy at the end of that so that she can basically be like, "Oh, the Brotherhood are, like, who I should join." Oh, when Jessica said Ruby Quartz, I thought that was a character I'd forgotten about. It does sound like one, though. Yes, get that coffee. I think that's Ruby Quartz that it's made of.
The artist and writer. I've never been to yoga class, karate class, or school for gifted children. Probably.
100%.
Or
Yes.
seen anyone kiss. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
got her. She got her.
Zing! Yeah.
What's great is like people are like so out of character, but Rogue believes every single one of them
Yeah.
until she gets to the Brotherhood and has her bag packed, and then kind of just immediately is like, "Wait, this doesn't make sense." And then
Mhm.
because Mystique messes up and says something that Scott
Yeah.
said to her, um, and then just immediately runs away, and that's it. It's just like, oh, that was quickly resolved, wasn't it?
Not before Pietro said this line that I need a reason to use this at some point in my life. He says, "Sorry, psychological warfare time is over. Now it gets physical."
Physical.
Rogue's like, "Fine by me." Yeah. Yeah, I think, with them being out of character, I will say this. When you're a teenager, you have this me syndrome. Like, it's hard to put yourself in the position of others. You always think, like, through your own, like, I'm on a stage for the world to see. And so I think I could defend her and say, like, when you're in that teenage mindset, you aren't really reading, like, is this in character or out of character? You're just reactionary to them, like, judging you. So, like, I'm going to give my girl some slack, not for the connivingly perfect redhead zing. 0 out of 10. That's a half star. Refund, please. But yeah, I could see where she would be like, and Pietro, he's kind of handsome. He's like there, and I think he's a literal silver fox. I think
Yeah, I agree.
he'd be a
I
catch
agree.
in high school.
Well, and we have to talk about the last page of this
Oh
issue.
my, yes.
Because I have questions.
Yeah.
Like, so Rogue runs away from the Brotherhood. She's running back to I was like, that is Rogue. Yeah, she's running back to the Institute. And she has Mystique's powers now, because she touched her. She turns into Mystique and goes into Kurt's room, and you see her over him, and she says, "Remember, son, I'll always care." And then runs away because she also has the speed power.
Mm-hmm.
And he sits up and says, "Thank you."
Mm-hmm.
Does he really think Mystique just came in there? And
I'm not sure. So one thing that did happen in one of these issues, I can't remember if it's already happened or not, was he was having a lot of nightmares. Like a lot of nightmares. And so I wonder if he's in like a half dream wake state. But it is very confusing. And I actually had to look at it twice. I'm like, is that Mystique or is that Rogue? Like I had to
just
look
did
at
it again.
quite a bit.
Yeah. I'm like,
And it doesn't help that they added like a blue tint to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure, but it was a cliffhanger. Choices were made, and I came back for the next issue.
Yeah, I did too. I will say, this cover is something, isn't it?
Something. Yes,
it is something that happened.
Something happened. Yes, that is correct. Yeah, and that's essentially issue 5, Untouchable.
Yeah. And what's a bummer about issue 6 is it does not have a name.
So, okay, at first I wasn't sure.
Oh wait, it does. I see it.
I think it's just like you, but yeah, I also was like, is there none? And then I went back and looked, and it's like in the middle of the roll call page.
Yeah, because I got to tell you, I skipped there's too many words. I know the characters.
It's a lot of words. Yeah.
That's too much of a roll call. I missed the game thing where it just showed you who it is.
Yeah, and when you think about the target, I mean, like if they were trying to get 12-year-old me, I would have seen all those words and been like, no, I'm good.
Yeah,
I got other summer reading for school to do.
That's right.
So yeah, I totally agree, but I believe it is called Just Like You. And hey, Mary, I saw that you just popped in.
Hi, Mary.
Love Taco
Sunday. Love that.
Was that a pun with dip and tacos, or was that unintentionally punny? Because I do love it.
Yeah, I love that too. Watery Wizard, how long until this is option for CW Freeform show? How great.
First off,
how great would that be?
I would love that. But Watery Wizard, they are out of the comics game. CW did a poll. Nexstar, the company that owns them. You can read about it online. I'm not making this up.
My former employer.
Oh, that's right.
They were terrible.
And they claim their number one demographic is different for streaming when they put their shows on streaming, but their number one demographic is over the age of 40. So I'm going to go 0 out of 10.
Also, wow.
Yeah, you can read about it. It's very interesting. So now a lot of their stuff that they want to put on, this is pre-writer's strike that this was announced, is like stuff that appeal, like game shows and like comedy sketch shows and things like that. No choices, that's fine.
Interesting.
But it is a total like departure from what they had been. Anyways, I would love that. But I don't think it's going to happen right now. I do think the age of X-Men has to come soon. We have been like getting so many teases about anything X-Men for so long. And
yeah, it's true.
But yeah, that would be great. Issue 6, Just Like You.
Mm-hmm.
This is an Evan focused issue. Evan, the nephew of Storm. Yes. Created for the show Spike.
Yeah. With a Y.
You got it.
Yep.
Boys with a Z. You gotta.
He's a big skater boy. See you later, boy. And he hangs out with his buddies. It doesn't want to he's just really like not taking his X-Men commitments well. He doesn't want to do it.
Well, he was. Let's be fair to the boy. He was signed up for it. In his defense, nobody said, "Do you want to fight crime?" They were like, "Do you want to learn how to harness your abilities so that you don't like murder people?" And he was like, "Yeah, dope. I'm down. Sounds good, prof."
right.
Um, but then they're like, suddenly he's got like tights and is on a team. So like, I kind of get it why he's like, "Hey, this is for my aunt, but this isn't for me." Like, valid.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So you see him in a mood a lot. And then he skips school and does a dangerous skateboard trick with some
Yeah.
friends of his. And they were like grinding along a cliff. It's kind of the
As you do with your
as you
razor
do.
scooter. What's
Yeah,
up?
that's right. Or bring a floor scooter to that one. That would really
Oh my god,
be
you'd be
difficult.
over. You'd be dead in a second.
Immediately dead. And one of his friends just pops a darn spike out of his arm, like Spike does.
Yeah.
And saves himself from like dying.
Cal. His name is Cal.
Yeah, and he was like, "What's happening? We got to get this guy to the boarding school that everyone weird goes to, I guess."
School. Yeah.
Yeah.
He also, I want to talk about Cal. He's wearing, I could get it in here. He is wearing pants that I had when I was a kid, zip off pants. You see that orange line?
Oh, yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, theys and thems.
Absolutely.
This is a style choice that we all made where you could have pants, then shorts, then shorter shorts.
Yep.
You could have it all.
Just beautiful.
We
We
could
need
have
to
had
bring
it
him
all.
back.
We could have had it all. Yes, he goes to the school and really wigs out. I also love, I want to say, when Wolverine calls Professor X Chuck. Yeah, Chuck's
Yeah,
expecting
Chuck.
you. Come in. And he like wigs out the mom. Cal's
having
mom's
his-
like,
yeah.
yeah, okay. So anyways, yeah, she's
I thought
wigged.
that was also just like a weird thing that I feel like Wolverine wouldn't actually do. Like,
No.
one, because when the claws come out, does it hurt? Every time.
Every time.
So why would he keep
Every
doing it?
time.
Right? For fun.
Also, Cal probably like is in so much pain. These spikes always look painful when they're coming
my
out.
gosh.
They're wild.
They do. And yes, Watery Wizard, we were talking earlier about swinging our razor scooters into our ankle 100%. It's the worst.
Ankle injuries are down 100% since 2005, I'm convinced. Like, people were always hurting their ankles. Never anymore.
100%. And yeah, zipping those legs back on was impossible as a kid. Not to mention you lost one.
Oh, yeah. So true. So true. Why were there bungee cords on those pants? I don't know. I don't know. To
You know what?
attach
There
to your
were.
death trap scooter.
It's so funny. I forgot about those.
I mean, I thought I
Oh,
was
boy.
so cool with those. Anyways, yes.
Yeah.
Cal goes to the school with his mom to speak to Chuck.
Mhm.
Prof. Chuck.
Prof. Chuck. And he goes in the wrong entrance, apparently. And it is the entrance where everyone else is at. And he's mimicking everyone's powers. So he just kind of loses it. And spikes are coming out of him and lasers are coming out of his eyes. And it's not a good time.
Yeah, he has no ruby quartz to save him from that.
Yep. And at some point around here is when he talks about, yeah, here it is, because you mentioned it earlier, Professor X, Prof X. Not to worry, recurrent structural repairs are built into the annual budget. So
yeah,
that is when that came up.
What a budget that much. I want to see the line items.
Right?
The overhead has to be like insane.
Also, like, where's he getting the money from?
We don't talk about that.
We just don't talk about that.
I often think about how, like, when we were kids, Professor X and Dumbledore were giving the same energy. And then as adults, you're like, wow, that was a little problematic. It's a little, but when we were kids, it was like, these are the wise elders.
Yes.
Yes, Prof. Chuck. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And he and Evan, Cal and Evan basically chatted up. And Cal's attitude basically keeps Evan's attitude in check. And he doesn't have a fireside chat, but he does have a cute quote when Cal confronts him. And he says, hey, with these guys, all I have to do is show up, like to be loved. And we love that. Would it have been better in front of a fireplace? Yes. But it was still heartwarming.
Yeah, love that.
Still a fan.
And we do ultimately find out that Cal is not a mutant.
Mm.
He is just mimicking everyone's powers because of experiments his father did on him
That was
as a
wild.
child. Yeah, I was like, yikes.
Yikes, spikes.
And then immediately Cal was just like, okay, well, I'm not like you all. I'm out of here.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
That's what starts it. Yep.
it's like, okay, all right. They're trying to help you, but okay, bro.
Cal's dad who experimented on him is the bigot from issue 1 who's like, get this guy out of here. Or issue 2, yeah, with the ruby, who made the ruby quartz visor. And you know what?
Yes.
I'm glad now that they just wrote over his intellectual property and made those sunglasses without his
Yeah,
permission.
me too.
I'm kind of glad about it now. What a
He
jerk.
deserved that.
What a jerk.
Yeah, he deserved that.
Yeah,
Well, that's pretty much that issue.
that is.
So
Issue 7, Beast of Burden. Who do we think this is about? Audience? I love these titles.
Any guesses?
Any guesses?
Superhero budgeting for mutants. That's all right. Something
You
we
also
don't talk
see
about.
at the start of 7, we talked about how the cast expands. So this is how I know this has no consistency, because like Kurt is brand new
Yes.
in issue 4, and by the time you get to issue 7, you are talking about continuity way down the line because the new mutants arrive, which is like Iceman, Wolfsbane, Multiple, Boom Boom, and Berserker. Also, little Easter egg in my research about the creators and their intent for the show. Confirmed in their minds, Boom Boom, queer.
Love
in a
that.
relationship with Wolfsbane.
Love
And
that.
that tracks for me. Not on the show, though. But yes, there are lots of new people. Sunspot, Jubilee, who's only there for like 5 seconds in the show, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
But this is about one Hank McCoy. Lovable teddy bear.
Yes.
Great accent.
The best.
The best.
And the prof, he's saying,
Chuck.
"Hey, come be a teacher at this place where we don't have teachers yet."
The boarding school.
Yeah, Beast is like, "How many other teachers do you have?" He's like, "None."
He's like, you. Which is a
Like,
big
you're-
problem because the other plot is like Storm's like, hey, I don't think you and I are enough to like have them all coming to us like for leadership. We need to invest in more leadership. And she talks about, I did love this actually. This was nice that in other cultures, the structures for elders and their role and leadership and council is very different. She talks about her tribe. I thought that was nice. I enjoyed that little scene.
I agree.
Yeah.
And then we're pretty much following a baseball game that they're having.
Wow. Also, is it outside or are they in the danger room? Because at some points it looks like they're outside, and other points it's like the floor is glowing.
Well, I think we're outside at the beginning. Yeah, we
Okay.
are outside because the mansion's in the back.
Yeah.
So we're outside at the beginning when the rule is you can't use your powers.
That's right. Yeah.
And then someone accidentally cheats. And they're like, and then Spike freaks out because he's got an attitude. And so they're outside at the beginning when all that's happening. He was kicked out of the game by Beast. And then they're like, let's move it in. Let's move it to the danger room and let's use all the powers.
Nothing could go wrong here.
Nothing at all.
No.
Nothing at all.
When we were little, they were like, don't play with the ball inside. And we didn't even have mutant abilities.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Right. People almost die. It's fine. Because they don't. And there's this weird subplot that we come back to at the very end.
A weird subplot in this series? No. Kristen.
Do we ever even find out about it? No, we don't. Absolutely not. There's some weird anonymous benefactor that has emailed Hank McCoy.
Oh, yeah.
To say, hey,
so funny.
I've been following your forays into genetic research with great interest, and I'm curious about the future of your investigations. Would you consider accepting a grant from a private philanthropist? I am most anxious that your brilliant mind not be distracted from your hereditary explorations by mundane matters such as finance. Please allow me to assist you by tell me how much you need and where I may send it. I look forward to doing business with you. Signed, an admirer.
This was back in the day, you know, it's almost unfathomable, but like I was logging into America Online via my 30-day trial discs. And internet safety was like becoming a thing. They were like, don't go to chat rooms. And they do follow up on this in an instant messenger chat room in a future episode. But I'm here to say it's signed an admirer, and it's a .net. Now you see Hank McCoy, my man, above board has a .edu
That's
email in
right.
here.
That's right.
But this guy said sciencescene.net. The worst part is he
So
does
good.
look like he's thinking about it at the end, and you're like,
He
what's going on?
does. He's like,
But can we talk about this? Look at this, the way they've drawn this beautiful soul. In the thumbs up after the baseball game. This is before the shady email.
It's
I
so
love
good.
this man so much. I love Hank McCoy, but you are so right. Even when they follow up, we'll talk about it with the instant messenger plot, it really doesn't go anywhere after that for the most part.
That's what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
there's like they come back to it, but like, do they? Like, it's just like.
Also, his computer said, "You've got mail," and I could just
Yeah.
hear it. I could like hear
Yeah.
it.
That's great.
Yeah,
So that gets you right to the next one.
it does.
Which is called Angel Underground.
Love it.
And it
Yep.
is about Angel, who's underground.
He is. Any guesses as to where? Yeah. Also, we know we skipped 4 because I believe Angel comes much later. If I mean, I
Yes.
could be wrong, but I feel like that's towards even the end of 3, beginning of 4. So, like, when were these were coming out in 2002, and they were just like, "Hey, let's just pick a random point in time to release each issue about."
That's exactly what they were doing.
Wild, wild. Anyways, yes, go ahead.
So Jean basically gets a vision of Angel, and she sees him like tied up somewhere, yelling out. She tells the professor like, "Hey, something's going on." He helps her find him. Also, like, there's this weird subplot of her thinking he's attractive and Scott having a problem with it, and everyone like commenting on it.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
because drama, I guess. So we get into the sewers because, of course, he's in the sewers. It's always the sewers.
Gotta be.
And the whole group's down there, and Storm is just having a lot of issues being in the sewers. And
well, she has claustrophobia,
right?
Which they talk a lot about in the comics, of course, but in the original animated series, I think that's where I learned it. Also, let's just take a moment to think about how there were so many things happening in sewers when we were kids. Like the Morlocks in the original animated series, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like I thought whole societies, and you know what? They may still be down there. I'm not going down to find out.
It's true.
The like TV show, some of the early like adaptation TV show of it came out. And I was like, the sewers are a place I do not want to go. Like the irrational fear. Meanwhile, they had me on death trap scooters. That's what I should have been fearing. But I got so excited when they rolled that card out every time.
Yeah, when they promoted kids having an email pen pal with a random stranger. Yes. It's a Nigerian prince. Yep,
it's good.
I think you mean Prof. Yeah, that was my bad. I think I said
Prof Chuck.
Prof Chuck.
That's what I'm gonna call him forever and always.
Yeah. So they run into like this gang of hooligans, shall we say?
Morlocks. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the sewers. Mm-hmm. And they're like, "Come back with us. Like, we're gonna capture you or whatever." And they're like, "Fine," because they knew Angel was there.
Yeah.
So they're strange, by the way. I just love how the artistic choice for them is very like maybe Street Fighter-esque. You know what I mean?
Choose your fighter. Yes. That is what they look like. Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, what's happening here? So they do find Angel trapped down here, as well as other people. Oh, and at one point, you gotta mention this. So Rogue and Scott leave to like find some, I don't even remember why they leave. Maybe to fight some of the other people. Mm-hmm. And where did she say it? I should have tagged it. Well, she basically tells Scott, she's like, "That was really brave of you." And he's like, "Oh, thanks, blah, blah." And she's like, "No, I mean that you left Jean alone with that hunk."
Do we think Jean is with Duncan at this point? I can't remember. I'm going to go
do they ever
no,
even
right?
mention it? Yeah, it would have to be no, I think.
Because he's not a real... Spoiler alert for... what is... now I can't remember what it's called. Oh, Gilmore Girls: A Year in the Life. Like one of the plot
Mm.
points is Rory keeps forgetting she has a boyfriend. This was actually the inspiration. Jean Grey,
Yeah.
X-Men Evolution. Duncan.
That's so
Duncan.
funny.
Yes, totally forgot about him. Yep.
Duncan.
We also get the return of an admirer.
Oh,
Instant
yes.
messaging.
Yes.
He looks
We're
like so serious about it too. It says ding. Yeah.
and he was just like, yeah, it's not going to be possible. Thanks again. And they're like, yeah, we know you're a mutant. It's no concern to me. And
All
that's how it
caps
ends.
mutant. Yep.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. And then you get this. And
I
then
was
you knew you
just
were
gonna
in
say,
for it.
the
Why?
final issue house party, where they have a house party.
They do.
Chuck goes out of town. He's got to investigate, I think, a mutant in Oregon or something.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow someone assumes Kurt is having a house party. So then they do.
And that's the plot. That is
That's
truly
the
the
whole
plot.
plot, honestly.
Chuck comes back to haunt everyone's nightmares. Let's do it again. So I'm not alone.
Gosh. Yeah, I'm making it big.
Oh,
Here we
it's
go.
so bad.
Yeah, it's so bad.
Actually, the issues they didn't release was that this is actually Mystique, and it's not her best work. Yeah, that's actually what it was.
He's so pointy.
Terrifying. Why is he so
Yeah,
pointy?
way too pointy.
And that's
so
honestly,
strange.
that is how it ends.
That's how it is. What happens with the Nigerian prince? I don't know. We don't find out. That doesn't come back.
So my theory is that's Mystique, right? Or is that where Magneto has been? Like, he's at his fireplace and he's got his laptop because he would have a laptop. Like he put that as a line item. He's never going to be like subpar in technology. And that's got to be him, right? Like he's trying to recruit him for their side. I don't think it's Mystique. I would bet it's Magneto. But
how
we'll
would
never
that
know.
like recruit him though? If they just give him a lot of money?
I thought they were gonna like give him money to work on special projects for them because he's so smart, and then like help their side. Ultimately.
Okay, sure.
That was my theory. Will we ever know? No.
The fact that we just had like 2 whole pages dedicated to that weird plot point, and we don't get anything from it. And the last issue ever of this is them having a house party with not great art. That's of course how it ended.
There are fun details in the art, I will say. There's like a little kitchen mat that's got little flowers on it. That was cute. Like a dish mat so your feet don't hurt. I liked that. That's a line item.
There are parts I like about it, but there's a lot of scariness, and it's again so drastic from the rest of it. It's like, how did this happen even?
Yeah. Absolutely. I do love this. Prof gets his eyebrows waxed. Facts. That's in the budget.
Yeah. Love that.
That's a line item.
My special project is for the X-Kids to make a fireplace. They have to.
They gotta. Arts and crafts.
So that's it.
That is it.
We'll never find out what happens.
Literally never, probably. Yeah, absolutely not.
But I'm glad this exists.
Yeah, me too.
I'm glad they collected it. We could have the whole thing.
Yeah.
And we can have that experience. I do think it goes well next to revisiting the show and having that nostalgia. Otherwise, no. That's not worth you picking up if you don't have any interest in the show or know anything about it, etc.
Yeah, I think even when I was like originally getting this, I wasn't thinking like, oh, I'll rewatch some episodes of the show. I was like, oh, I'll get this and it'll take me right back. And I am glad that we like watched the pilot and had this because it made me like make myself try to remember things, because otherwise I would have been like very like confused and disoriented throughout the read. So yeah, 3 stars. It was fine. Add it, for cheap to get free shipping on something and watch the first couple episodes. Or as I said, there are a few YouTube retrospectives that are really solid that like summarize things. Would highly recommend some of those. But yeah, that's the book.
You have to send me some of those. Yeah.
Yeah, there's one I wanted to. Let me see if I can find it. Now I'm like, may have lost it. One creator. It's a 3-hour retrospective. And
Wow.
I watched it on 2 speed. But it is from a creator called Josh with a Z, all lowercase, no spaces. And they had a lot of cool retrospectives, and like fun videos like best and worst costumes of these different heroes, etc. And yeah, I thought they did a great job like summarizing it. So if you're like, I'm not going to check out the show, but you want to see like what all this shenanigans was about, would recommend that one.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
All right. Well, we did it. We did the book report.
we did the book report. Let's talk beach reads. Let's talk about
Yeah.
what is there something you're currently reading before we talk about what's next?
Yeah, there is. I'm actually listening
Oh,
to a thriller that I'm really enjoying right now. I know. Who am I? Called A Flicker in the Dark. And this is by, we're not going to focus today, are we?
yeah.
Stacy Willingham.
All right, Stacy.
Yeah, I'm 66% in. I'm
Okay.
enjoying it. We are following a therapist
Mm-hmm.
who has her own childhood trauma, as you do. When she was 12 or so, her people in her town started going missing, like girls, young girls, like around her
Mm-hmm.
age.
Mm-hmm.
Then they started finding bodies. All of these bodies were like missing pieces of jewelry. And one day she's like playing in her parents' room, opens up a box. There's the jewelry. She brings the evidence to her mom,
Mm-hmm.
and her father gets convicted. It goes to prison for the murders of these girls. So it's many, many, many years later. She's a successful
Yeah.
therapist, and people, these girls start going missing in the town again.
Oh God.
Same thing's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Jewelry's been missing. They all like are happening like near her too. So like
Mm-hmm.
something's going on. So she's trying to figure out what's happening. It's really, I don't know. I like it a lot so
Yeah, I
far.
like that. Is the
Yeah.
flicker in the dark the jewelry?
You know what? I didn't even think of that. But probably, yeah.
All right.
Interesting.
Well, let me know if you're if it is a 4 or a 5 for you, and
I
I
will
might check it out.
definitely. Yeah.
For me, I got 2 reads.
Mm.
One that's yeah, it's gonna take me time. It's gonna take me time, but I'm finally reading Bone. I told Kristen I was able to find this 1 volume edition, the paperback, for like $12 at a half price book. So I am in the second volume. Like, what is the second volume? And I'm still enjoying it. I just haven't had a big reading, but I have it by my bed, and I've managed to read like usually almost every night, like one of the chapters. So I'm into that. And then I am halfway through with Miss. I always do this wrong. Mrs. Nash's Ashes, which I picked up. Who knew it took place over Memorial Day weekend? I like got to the second paragraph. I was like, oh. Um, I'm really enjoying this. It's a new release, and I believe a debut. But essentially, it's about a woman who, a young woman who used to be a TV star, which I didn't think I knew from the back of the book, who has just had a bad breakup, and also her elderly neighbor, who she wound up being roommates with at one point, like subletting from her, passed away. That neighbor had a goal to reunite with a past love that she met when they were serving as like she was actually a pigeon messenger carrier pigeon trainer, and the person that she was interested in was a nurse during World War II. I don't know exactly why they were separated yet. I haven't gotten there because it's told in like back and forth. And so she goes on a road trip, which of course she runs into some gruff man who challenges her, etc. They're going to fall in love, folks. This is a spoiler alert. And so it's like 2 romances, but it's also like 2 like stories of self-discovery, and it's really funny, like the situations that they're at a broccoli festival currently, and she's somehow gotten tapped in to be like the parade conductor because she's a local like famous celebrity. So yeah, I'm enjoying that one for sure. And would love to know what other folks are reading in the chat for
Yeah, for sure.
their beach reads.
That's one that you told me about, and it sounds really good. So I actually just texted Reed because he is out of town at the library that I know has it. So I'm like,
Mm.
hey, are you getting this for me?
Yeah,
So
I think so far I'm at 50% or so, and I think you would really enjoy it.
awesome. Love that.
Um, do you want to talk about what we are reading for
Yes.
our next show?
Our next show will be Imogen, obviously, by
Obviously.
Becky Albertalli. Yes. I feel like for anyone who doesn't, I got this from my library, of course. I think it's probably very accessible at libraries.
Yeah.
if you don't want to get it. But this is a YA book by Becky Albertalli, best known for Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda and other things. Everything I've read from Becky, I really like. So I am looking forward to this. But I do know that I know it's a queer story. That's kind of all I know.
Yeah, I think I don't know much. This main girl, I think her name is Imogen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Obviously.
obviously.
I think she has like described herself as an ally. I think she goes to the college campus of a friend and discovers maybe she's not just an ally, maybe she has feelings for the first time for another girl, and like she's wondering what could that mean because in the past she's been attracted to guys. So I think it's a lot about self-discovery. I've heard it handles a lot of conversations around bisexuality, pansexuality really well. And unlike you, I have somehow not read any Becky Albertalli. If Hayden's still in the chat, I'm so sorry. I know they're a fan as well, but this will be my first foray, and all of you have spoken so highly. I think it's at least going to be a solid read. I think so. Yeah, I'm excited to get into this one, and I think we might have a friend or two join us for this week as well.
Absolutely.
2 weeks.
It's
from
very
now.
exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that is. When is that? The
That
10th of June?
is the 10th, yes.
Or 11th. The 11th of June.
Oh, the 11th, yeah. I was very confident. Like, yes, you're right.
Imogen, obviously, June 11th, 1
That's
p.m.
right.
Eastern. And Cycle Cleveland has said what they are reading.
Just finished watching cinema speculation, and now it's got me reading a bunch of 70 watching. Okay, sorry, watching.
Watching?
I tried.
Oh, this sounds cute. Currently reading Little Lulu Sweet Paprika. Is that a manga? It sounds like a manga.
Little Lulu's like an old strip comic, I think. Am I wrong, Deathstone? Please let me know.
Oh, does she have black hair and a little dress?
Yeah, I think so.
I probably described half.
That sounds right.
Good question, Omnibus. All right, okay.
Yeah, that's fun. I'll be curious how you feel about No Longer Human the Prose, because I've read 2 manga adaptations and I hated both of them. So just curious.
Wow, a prose has 2 manga adaptations? Wow.
Yeah, it's a huge book in Japan. My last comic I read was You Will Own Nothing and You Will Be Happy. How did you like it, Cycle?
Is that about minimalism? I could be into that. You know who would read that? X-Men Evolution's Wolverine, who's super into yoga and self-discovery.
And, wearing karate gear. I've had the trades for years and was so excited that when I saw they were releasing it all together, but I didn't pay attention to the dimensions, so my copy came and was disappointed. Wish it was a normal size trade, but even still, it's nice. Yeah, and it's better than the one they had before, which was teeny tiny. So they at least upgraded that a little bit.
I still can't even picture how small that is because this one's so tiny.
It's a little baby. I'm reading the Alchemist graphic novel.
Wow. I love that book.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was a graphic novel. I'll have to check it out.
Basil and Oregano is the best thing I've read this year. That is one I have on hold at the library, Mark. So that's good to hear. Love that.
Yeah, that was really cute for sure. I really like the art in there.
Yeah. It was an incredible program. What is supposed to be a 20-30 issue series from Simon Hanselman. Cool. Love that.
Ooh. That's some heavy summer reading you got going on there. Marcus Aurelius Meditations.
The one you have is tiny, or the regular size trades. Yeah. I have a 2-foot tall stack of nonfiction books about jazz and jazz artists to read. Also, Cycle. Nice. That's awesome. She does the art for my comic too.
Oh, cool. Okay, yeah, I really like the art.
I was like, who?
Yeah, that's my favorite part. And I do love a magical school setting. I mean, that we didn't really talk about it, but that's kind of why I loved X-Men the Animated Series when I was a kid, because I didn't grow up with comics at home. I was like, I loved the domesticity of being in a house together, being in the school together. And definitely the TV show also captures that. So in the Basil and Oregano, there's also a feature that's kind of like that.
Love that. Sweet Paprika's Image. I think I've heard about it, but I haven't read it. Also, Star Heartstopper Volume 2. How exciting. Chris, very exciting.
That's self-care.
That's exactly what it is. 100%.
X-Men Evolution, Yoga, Zen, Wolverine approved. Could you imagine Wolverine? You know that they make a meme of it where he's like holding the picture from the
yeah.
But if it was
Yeah.
like Heartstopper volume 2,
Someone's probably done that. We'll have
probably
to find
so. I've seen so many versions of that one, but I would
Yeah,
like that.
it's so good.
Well, that's like a good range of reading that folks are into.
Absolutely.
I love that. I think sometimes when you interact with people and you tell them you read comics, I think they make a lot of assumptions, but among them is like, oh, those aren't real books, which is not true, obviously. But even when it comes to prose, like the books about jazz, the multimedia books, like that's also reading. Like I just think people have make assumptions like, oh, this is this one thing you like, but it's really encouraging to hear how many different things people are into, because it makes it more enjoyable too. When you go to one, you have this breadth of knowledge from other things that you can pull it into.
Absolutely. I very much agree. Black Cat Social Club is also amazing. I've heard about that one too. Upgrade from Digest, but downgrade for the regular trades. Okay, so they came out in regular trade. That is weird then. They also released the first 4 issues in hardcover, which is weird. Yeah.
What's particularly bizarre is, I mean, I guess by 2002 it was picking up, but when we were younger, like graphic novels, quote unquote, or even like collections of multi-issues were not very common. Like they just weren't as common as they are now. Now it's such a big like part of the market, but I feel like when we were growing up, definitely not easily accessible.
No,
So
totally.
it's remarkable.
Well, even just like the abundance that I can get from my library is the best.
Oh,
you know,
hands down, yeah.
love that. I'm thinking like Marvel, because they've been doing those like these smaller,
Yeah.
like Unbeatable Squirrel Girl and like Wasp and stuff,
Travis,
and and they all have the same price point. So I'm thinking it was a similar situation where they're like, okay, kids will like this.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right. Well, thank you for being here, Mark.
Yes, thank you.
And thank you everyone else for being here. I think we did it.
We did it.
And again,
one slice of pizza has been achieved.
That's right. Next time, Imogen, obviously. And we'll see what stars go here. This is the place where cool kids learn.
You just had to talk about how good your little starboard is, didn't you?
I got to get it in there.
Got to get it in.
So yeah, join us again on June 11th. Yeah,
at 1
June 11th
Eastern.
At 1 Eastern. And we'll see you then.
Yeah, see ya.